All right, listen, here's the thing about fights like this. You can feel it before the cage door even shuts. There's this buzz in the air, that raw energy where you know something special is about to happen because you've got two absolute animals about to collide with everything on the line. And that's not hype, that's reality. This isn't just another matchup. This is the kind of fight where careers are made or broken, where one guy is going to walk out with his dream a little closer and the other is going to walk out questioning everything. And that's why you can't look away, because it's not scripted, it's not manufactured drama, it's real human willpower being tested in the most primal way possible. One cage, two men, one shot at glory, and I promise you, by the time this thing is over, you're going to know exactly why people like me are so damn obsessed with this sport. Jack Congdon is one of those guys that you watch and immediately think, man, this dude is built for fighting, because there's nothing fancy about him. He's not out there throwing spinning wheel kicks or flying knees. He's just raw grit, wrestling pressure, and a gas tank that doesn't quit. And that's what makes him so damn dangerous. He's the kind of fighter who drags you into places you don't want to be. That dirty, grinding, suffocating pace where every breath feels heavy and every movement feels like you're sinking deeper into quicksand. And he thrives there. He feeds off that chaos because Jack Congdon isn't trying to win beauty contests. He's trying to break you. And if you go back and look at some of his fights, you see it clearly. The way he chains takedowns, the way he stays glued to his opponent like a shadow, just relentless. And even when he eats shots, because yeah, he's been tagged before, he doesn't care, he just keeps moving forward, and that's the thing that separates him. It's that toughness, that refusal to go away, that look in his eye that says, I'm still here and I'm not going anywhere, and that wears on guys. That mental pressure is just as brutal as the physical. Because when you're in there with someone who you hit with your best shot, and he just shrugs it off and keeps pushing you against the cage, dragging you down, smothering you, it breaks your spirit. And Congdon has made a career out of doing exactly that. He's not the loudest guy in the room. He's not the one chasing clout. He's the one putting his head down, grinding, building wins off sheer willpower and wrestling fundamentals. And that's the kind of fighter who, when you give him the spotlight on a stage like the Contender Series, you know he's going to show up and make it a war. Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani, man, this dude is a fascinating fighter, because when you look at him, you don't just see another prospect trying to break into the UFC. You see a guy who fights with this calm, calculated energy, like he's been here before, like he's been in 100 wars and knows exactly how to navigate the chaos. And that's rare, especially for someone this early in his career, because his style is built on composure, precision, and an almost predatory sense of timing. They call him Mufasa. And it fits perfectly because he stalks his opponents. He doesn't rush. He doesn't panic. He just reads, downloads information, and then punishes you for every mistake you make. And you watch his fights, man, and you realize quickly he's got real power in those hands. Not just knockout power, but that sharp, stinging kind of power that makes guys hesitate, makes them second-guess their shots. And that hesitation is deadly, because the moment you freeze, Jean-Paul closes the distance with clean combinations. And what I love is how efficient he is. He's not wasting energy. He's not out there brawling like a madman. He's picking his shots, setting traps, slipping punches, and coming back with brutal counters. And that's the mark of a high-level striker, someone who doesn't just throw to throw, but throws to end fights. And you go back to his highlight reels in LFA, in Fury FC, the way he shut the lights out on Casey Tanner with that perfectly timed right hand. That wasn't luck. That was pure skill, anticipation, and execution under pressure. And that's what separates him, because a lot of young fighters can look good when they're the hammer, but when they're the nail, when the pressure comes back their way, they crumble. Yet Jean-Paul stays ice cold, and that's the mentality of a future contender. He's got that confidence, that self-belief that you can't teach. And physically, he's a problem too. Long reach, sharp footwork, great cardio. He can keep that steady pace all night while still carrying knockout power into the later rounds. And mentally, he's dangerous because he knows exactly what he wants. He's chasing that contract, he's chasing that dream, but he's doing it in a way that shows maturity beyond his years. Like he's already visualized the path ahead. And when you mix that mindset with the technical striking, the killer instinct, and the composure under fire, you're looking at a guy who doesn't just want to fight in the UFC. You're looking at a guy who could actually make a run once he gets there. And that's what makes watching him so exciting, because every time he steps into the cage, you feel like something special could happen. This fight is such a perfect example of a classic clash of styles. Because on one side, you've got Jack Congdon, this relentless wrestler who just wants to close the distance, lock his hands, drag you to the mat, and make you carry his weight until you're drowning. And on the other side, you've got Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani, a smooth technical striker who thrives in space, who wants to keep it standing and turn it into a chess match of timing and precision. And that's the oldest story in MMA, striker versus grappler, whose world does the fight take place in, because if Congdon gets his way, it's going to be ugly, it's going to be a grind, it's going to be him pressing Lebosnoyani against the chaining takedowns, wearing him down with top control. And you know he's not looking for a quick finish, he's looking to break you slowly, take away your legs, take away your gas tank. But if Jean-Paul keeps it upright, man, that's where it gets scary, because the dude's hands are sharp, his counters are vicious, and he can end the night with one mistake from Congdon. And that's what makes it so damn fascinating. You're literally watching a battle of wills, two guys trying to impose their reality on each other. And the crazy thing is both are capable of flipping the script in an instant. Congdon can eat a shot, power through it, and slam you on your back. And Lebosnoyani can defend just long enough to create that one perfect window for a counter right hand that changes everything. So every exchange, every level change, every feint matters in this fight, because it's not just physical, it's mental. It's about forcing the other guy into your game before he forces you into his. What makes this fight so crazy is the stakes, because you're not just talking about two young guys stepping into a cage to see who's tougher. You're talking about the Contender Series. You're talking about careers hanging in the balance. You're talking about a moment that could literally change the entire trajectory of someone's life in 15 minutes or less. And that's why it feels so raw, so intense, because when you watch these fights, you can see it in their eyes. You can feel the desperation, the hunger, because unlike a normal UFC card, where a loss might set you back, but you're still in the company. Here, it's all or nothing. You win impressively. You might walk out with a contract. Your dream comes true. You lose or even look hesitant, and suddenly that door is slammed shut for who knows how long. And think about that pressure. Think about the idea that you've been grinding for years in regional promotions, fighting in tiny venues with a couple hundred people, taking fights for next to no money, all so you could get to this exact platform. And now the boss himself is sitting cage-aside. Dana White is literally watching you, judging every move. And you've got to perform under that spotlight. You can't just win. You have to show that you're UFC material. You have to make a statement. And that's brutal because it forces these fighters into this mental space where every second matters. Every exchange could be the thing that defines your career. And that's why the Contender Series fights are often some of the wildest you'll ever see, because guys are willing to take insane risks just to get noticed. They'll go for big finishes. They'll push through exhaustion. They'll fight with this reckless courage that you don't always see once people are signed and established, because they know this is it. This is their one shot. And that's what makes Jack Congdon versus Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani so compelling, because both of these guys are right on that line. Both of them want it so badly. And you can tell in the way they fight. Congdon's grinding style, his refusal to quit, that comes from knowing he has to show Dana he's a nightmare matchup for anyone. And Lebosnoyani's sharp striking, his composure, that's him saying, I belong on the big stage. I can handle pressure. I can deliver knockouts when it matters most. So the stakes here aren't just about who gets their hand raised. It's about who proves they're ready for the next level, who convinces the UFC that they're worth investing in. And that's a heavy weight to carry into a cage, because it's not just a fight. It's your entire future condensed into a single night, one performance, one opportunity, one dream hanging in the balance. The prediction angle on this fight is wild, because it's one of those matchups where you can make a strong case for either guy depending on how you think the fight plays out. Like if you believe in the grinding, suffocating style of Jack Congdon, then you're probably picturing him shooting takedowns early, putting Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani on his back foot, and just drowning him in pressure, because that's what Congdon does best. He forces you into his world. And once you're there, it's like quicksand. Every time you try to move, he's a step ahead. Every time you try to stand, he drags you back down. And over the course of 3 rounds, that can absolutely wear a striker out. And if Congdon chains those takedowns together the way he has before, it's not hard to see him grinding out a decision or even pounding his way to a late stoppage. But then on the flip side, you've got this sharp, precise, deadly counterstriker in Jean-Paul, a guy who doesn't need much space to change the entire course of the fight with a single shot. And when you watch him fight, the composure, the way he sets traps, it makes you think he might actually be the worst kind of opponent for a guy like Congdon, because Congdon has to get close. He has to level change, and every one of those entries is an opportunity for Jean-Paul to time him, crack him with an uppercut, or catch him with a knee. And that's where the risk comes in, because the moment Congdon hesitates on a shot, the fight swings in Jean-Paul's favor. And what makes the prediction so tricky is that both guys are dangerous in completely different ways. Congdon is the type who can break your will, take you into deep waters, make you feel helpless, while Jean-Paul is the type who can keep his cool, wait for that perfect window, and put your lights out. So when people ask who wins, it really comes down to who can impose their game first. Does Congdon smother Jean-Paul and turn it into a grind? Or does Jean-Paul keep his composure, keep it standing, and detonate something explosive when Congdon rushes in? And that's why predicting this fight is so fascinating, because it feels like we're either going to see a suffocating grappling clinic or a highlight reel knockout, and either way, someone's leaving with a career-changing moment. So when you put it all together, man, this fight isn't just another scrap on a random Tuesday night. This is one of those moments where two hungry dudes are literally putting everything on the line. Jack Congdon bringing that relentless grind. Jean-Paul Lebosnoyani carrying that slick, calculated striking. And it all comes down to who can drag the other into their world first. And that's what makes it so damn beautiful, because fights like this are pure chaos mixed with pure opportunity. You're not just watching punches and takedowns, you're watching years of sacrifice, hours in empty gyms, blood, sweat, tears, all condensed into a handful of exchanges that could define the rest of their careers. And the coolest part is we get to sit back and witness it live. We get to feel that tension, that uncertainty, that electricity of not knowing how it's going to play out until it actually does. And that's why this sport is the best, because it's raw, it's unpredictable, and it's real in a way that nothing else compares to. So good luck to both these warriors. May they both bring the absolute best version of themselves inside that cage. And thank you to the fans, because without you, there's no energy, no platform, no fire. You guys are the reason these moments matter. So buckle up, enjoy the ride, and let's see who writes their name into the next chapter of this crazy fight game.